Hello everyone and welcome back to another video. Today was round 8 of Llobregat Open chess tournament and we're almost nearing the end of the tournament. The tournament has 10 rounds, so 2 more rounds to go. But let's talk about what happened in round 8. So in round 8 I faced Hugo Ubergracia from Spain. He's rated 23-27 and he's a FIDE master and he's born in 2010. I didn't think I could be facing someone from that year. That's very young. So very young player and also very strong. So I knew it was going to be an interesting challenge. But when preparing against my opponent, he plays a lot of different things. And the one thing that I knew that my opponent doesn't play is he usually doesn't go for d4 and c4 type of positions. So I saw some games where he would, set up with c4 and knight of 3, and he would delay d4 as long as possible, which really surprised me. Guess what happened? He plays d4, I played d5, he plays c4. And I'm looking at the camera, I'm looking at the position like I cannot believe this, because I even told my coach that he doesn't play this at all, and here it is. So yeah, great preparation. Everything that I did was thrown out of the window and I was by myself. But I thought, if my opponent plays something else, I know what to do more or less, so it should be fine. Well, that was the case until I played c6, c takes e5, c takes e5, the exchange Slav, and he plays bishop g5, and I thought, what? Like, where did this come from? I don't remember the last time I've seen this. Usually this happens before taking on d5, and then there's, actually on the second move, usually bishop g5 is played, the Trompovsky. But here I was like, wait, what? I could not quite understand what I was supposed to do, so I just went with the flow. I just played knight c6, knight c3, h6, bishop h4, and g5. I thought, okay, let's kick the bishop away. And with that, I'm, creating some activity on the king side. I can develop my bishop to g7, knight to f6, and it's going to be quite a dynamic position, at least for me. But yeah, I thought it would make it a bit exciting at least, rather than having a really boring and dry position. Bishop g3 was played, of course, bishop g7, e3, knight f6. I'm trying to get my bishop out to f5. Perhaps I should have done that sooner, but I keep thinking about queen b3, and then my pawn on b7 and d5 are hanging, so I wasn't entirely sure how to develop my pieces properly, but I really wanted to play bishop f5 because bishop d3 is incoming, right? But okay, I went for knight f6, bishop d3, a6, and I'm just trying to expand on the queen side as well, because on the king side I don't really have much to do. If I play h5, my opponent can either play h4 or maybe even h3 is completely fine, and I'm just weakening squares for no reason really. So also I want to play knight h5 at some point, but I'm waiting for my opponent to develop this knight to either f3 or e2, so I can play knight to h5. Anyway, a3 was played. Here I play b5 because I don't want to allow my opponent to play knight a4, knight c5 so easily. So I play b5, rook c1, and here I play queen a5 because I thought, I want to prepare b4, and now my opponent cannot play the move b4. I initially thought my opponent would go for b4 here, but I guess it weakens the square c4, this one, and perhaps the knight goes, my knight can go all the way to c4, and yeah, perhaps that's not really what you're looking for with white. But I thought that, with b4, you can maybe play queen b3 and then a4, and my pawns are quite vulnerable on the queen side. So I thought this was what my opponent would go for, but instead rook c1 was played, so I can play queen a5 now. And now b4 is obviously not a good move because the a3 pawn is hanging. So queen d2, bishop d7, simply defending the knight because there's all sorts of tactics in the position. Also, this queen e2 move is really good because getting out of the pin is always a good idea. And after knight f3, b4 takes. I did consider queen takes b4 briefly, just before, right after my opponent took on b4. I was going to play knight takes b4 immediately, but then I paused for a second and I thought maybe queen takes b4 is interesting too. But then I realized, well, I'm not sure. I think my knight is pretty annoying on b4 at least, but I don't like the position of my queen. But okay, at least the pawn on d5 is defended, so maybe I can play knight h5 at some point. Anyway, bishop e1 was played, of course. You want to keep the pair of bishops with white. Rook c8, short castles, queen b6. I played queen b6 with the reasoning that knight e2 is really annoying now. And yeah, that's an annoying pin. It's interesting though that, so I did consider this during the game that, okay, let's say I play short castle, knight a2. I did see this move during the game, but for some reason I neglected this idea of playing knight c6, and I thought that, you know, it's a slow death anyway, because let's say b4, rook c5, rook c1, and I didn't really like how passive I'm getting here, and I thought I want to keep my knight on b4, and it felt like my queen was misplaced anyway, so why not just retreat? But after queen b6, knight a4 happened. Just as I played queen b6, my opponent played, well, as I played it, I saw what my opponent could do, and I thought, why did I not just spend a little bit longer on my move and I would have seen knight a4? Because as I played it, I realized knight a4 is a move. And yeah, in this game, I tried to play fast. I tried to not get into time trouble. And this is what happens. I play a little bit too fast and I end up making mistakes. But regardless, I'm still in a worse position and it's really tough for me to play here. And yeah, it's just not really fun overall, honestly. So I think sooner or later, like regardless, it's just a really difficult position, really difficult to see what I can actually do here. But I guess after queen b6, I make it easier for my opponent here. And he plays the move knight a4, queen to b5, because if I take, obviously the rook is hanging on c8, so I cannot take the knight. Yeah, I don't really have any other square for my queen because the knight on d4 is hanging too. The queen is attacking that one, so queen b5, knight c5, short castle. I finally managed to castle, but at what cost? Because knight e5, and yeah, my bishop is a little bit sad over here. So I play bishop e8 because I don't really see a good move here. I did consider moves such as a5 or, well, I don't really have knight h5 because the bishop is not defended anymore then. Yeah, I guess e6 is a move, but everything just feels really bad. Also, actually, the knight on b4 is hanging, right? Because you can just take on d7. So a5 was the move I mostly considered, but I just didn't really like my position. And I thought f4 is incoming anyway, and white is extremely active. It's really easy to play with the white pieces, whereas with black, it's just like I'm playing everywhere, and it's not really working out because I don't really have play anywhere, which is kind of crazy. But yeah, I played bishop e8 hoping that I can hold somehow and survive, but no, f4 is happening. I play a5 because I obviously want to play knight h5, but I saw that there's bishop e1 with tempo, which is attacking my knight on b4. So then I would have to play a5, and then basically my opponent can play almost anything here. My opponent can take on g5, my opponent can play g4, there's queen d1 attacking my knight, there is a billion different ways that my opponent can open up the position. You can even play knight d3 to get rid of that knight on b4, and then maybe you get to play queen d3, and once that queen is on this diagonal, it's pretty much over. So yeah, it's really rough out here. So anyway, my opponent played f4 and I went for a5 first because I thought, well, maybe I have knight h5 on the next move. f takes g5 was played, h6 g5, queen to d1. Really strong move because my opponent is threatening rook takes f6. So if I play any move, let's say a4, rook takes f6 is the move, bishop takes f6, queen h5, and queen h7 is checkmate. And I cannot stop this threat whatsoever. My pieces are so stuck here. They're so stuck. So that's why I have to play queen b6 with the idea that after rook takes, I'm taking, oh, that's not the right arrow. After rook takes, I have to take with the queen, and then I'll be able to cover the checkmate with queen h6, so that way I'm defending it. But after h4, really strong move by my opponent, knight e4, I have to do something, because my king is completely exposed, basically. I mean, the bishop is just there, but it doesn't really help much. And yeah, I basically have no moves. I'm super stuck in my position. My pieces are unable to coordinate or work together whatsoever, and I'm just waiting until my opponent finds, you know, the winning idea, which he's doing really well with. So knight e4, yeah, I'm just trying to complicate matters and hoping for the best. Bishop takes e4. Obviously, a really strong move because now knight d7 is a threat, or the other knight, and I'm losing material again. So bishop takes e5. I try to hold on to my material. I was also thinking to just give up the exchange and maybe I can fight for something, but it felt pretty hopeless, especially because of the weak position of my king. So that's why I took on e5, but now bishop f5, another strong move. I was thinking if the bishop retreats all the way here, then maybe after queen h5, I have the move f5, and I'm barely holding on there. So yeah, that's why bishop f5 is so strong, because it stops my pawn from moving to f5. And yeah, the bishop is really hoping to cover that square h5, but it's not quite happening. And the rook on c8 is hanging. So I play e6, hoping that, I'm not losing material, but it's just a complete disaster on the king side. Bishop takes e5, e takes f5, rook takes f5, f6, so I'm already down a pawn, and my king is still in a bad position. Queen g4, really strong move once again. I mean, the threats are just stacking up. Rook takes f6 is a threat. Obviously, h takes g5 is a threat. Right now, rook takes g5 is not a... Well, it is essentially a threat, but I guess you have like so many better options than that. But anyway, I went for knight d3 thinking that, maybe there's something out there. Also, at this moment in time, I'm already down to a minute on the clock because I spent all my time in the last few moves trying to figure out what I can do to survive. And guess what? I was not able to find the defense. Or, well, there was not a defense really, but maybe I can find a way to confuse my opponent, right? But my opponent, as you can see, did not get confused at all because knight d3, now rook takes f6. I was hoping that if knight takes, rook takes, knight takes, maybe somehow I get to play, I don't know, queen takes b2, and, actually I was going to play bishop g6. And the idea is that, let's say the rook moves, I don't know, somewhere here, for example. Queen takes here, knight d3, there's always queen b1 check, and I thought if the rook is not going to move, but let's say, I don't know, pawn takes here and queen takes b2, then I always have like queen b1 check, somewhere. There are some ideas that I can like try, but obviously all of this is losing if you just play the right moves and don't allow me to get this counterplay. So yeah, I was just hoping to create some counterplay, but too many pieces are hanging, and especially my king is in a very bad place. Rook takes f6, rook takes f6, queen takes c8, knight takes c1, queen takes c8, and it looks like, I'm fine material-wise because rook f8, and, I'm sort of back, but queen takes f8, the final blow, because after king takes f8, knight d7 check, and my opponent is up a lot of material. So I decided after queen takes f8, it's over, and I resigned. And yeah, very tough game, but my opponent plays super well, so yeah, he tricked me in the opening. I have to take a look at this line to see what to do here because I don't quite remember what to do here. And yeah, I was really surprised by the opening choice. That really caught me off guard. I tried to play my moves as fast as I could and like try to keep my time management at a normal level, but yeah, that did cause some inaccurate moves here and there, and I guess maybe I should have spent a bit more time in the opening to really try to understand what is going on, what should I do, and yeah, because in the opening I was really just playing what feels natural to save time, and I was just developing, etc. But now in hindsight, I wish I spent more time in the opening, so it's a constant battle every day between do I spend more time or not. And today I decided to not spend so much time, and it still backfired. So yeah, we'll see what to do tomorrow, but I'm going to do my best. My opponent is really strong, so I don't feel like too bad about this game, but I can do better than this. I want to do better, and that's why I'm going to do my best tomorrow. So wish me luck. Actually, by the time this recap is uploaded, the tournament may already be over. But in any case, I'll see you guys in the next video. Thanks so much for watching, and see you in the next one.